Hi guys, people often ask me, what does it take to pass AKT? And it comes down to, I think, three things. Having trained many doctors over the years to pass this very challenging exam, but very passable exam. I want to talk about three things that I see sometimes people lack or don't have the right proportions of that can lead to people struggle. So three things that are super important. Number one, problem solving ability. Number two, a strong knowledge base. And number three, a strong focus on technique. I'm Dr. Arora from Arora Medical Education. Let's open up these three things. Number one, problem solving ability. Now, AKT is not just about how much do you know. You need to have a strong knowledge base, we'll talk about in a second, but you've got to be able to problem solve. You've got to be able to think on the spot. You've got to be able to work things out. You've got to trust your ability to do that. And people often don't have that trust in themselves, and therefore they go round and round and round in their mind about a certain question and leads them into a very difficult situation when they just end up guessing. You've got to build up your strength of problem solving. This comes, of course, from doing question banks and questions, and people would spend many hours in the lead up to AKT doing question bank after question bank or question after question, hour after hour of questions. But are you building your ability to problem solve? Are you looking back and thinking, how did I approach that situation? Did I approach it in a way that got me into a tangle? Did I approach it in a systematic way? Was I taking information from the question? Was I looking at certain parts of information too much or too strongly compared to other parts? And was I influencing my decision? Are you strengthening your problem solving ability? So when you go through question banks, yes, make sure you do lots and lots of questions. You have to build up that pattern recognition, but make sure you do it in time techniques. For example, there's too many people who just do loads of questions without thinking about time. So they build up problem solving ability, but when the important crunch time comes, when you've only got 57 or whatever it is seconds per question, can you do it at that speed? So yes, do loads of questions, but make sure you do them in time conditions. And three, think about, how am I problem solving? Am I actually getting better at it? Am I making the same errors or the same jumps or guesses each and every time? So number one, you have to have a strong problem solving ability. That's the one that I think most people have, but it's certainly an area that a lot of people do lack and don't spend enough time focusing on. Number two, you've got to have a really strong knowledge base for AKT. There is so much information. You, of course, can't know everything, but you've got to know some key things, and certain things need to be in more depth than others. And if your knowledge base is not right, you can do as many questions as you want. You can do as many days, months, evenings, whatever you want to do in terms of preparation. But if you're not building your knowledge base, then you're going to have gaps. If you have gaps, it's going to lead to too many guesses, because there's certain things you just can't guess. You've got to know the basic material. When it comes to chronic diseases, you've got to know these inside out. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Key things in primary care, knowing your red flag guidelines inside out, knowing your, for example, pediatrics, ENT, stuff that you might not be doing on a day-to-day basis depending on what jobs you are in, stuff that you might be relying purely on question banks to solve. Now, question banks are great, but they can't cover curriculums. So you've got to have an approach that allows you to build your knowledge base alongside doing lots of problem solving. So whilst you're doing lots of questions, don't just rely on reading the bottom text of a question. That can't cover the gaps that you need to know. Go back to basics, open up clinical guidelines, use one of our courses, online courses, audio courses, where we've done the groundwork and built up this knowledge for you, and make sure you transfer it into your mind. Because without the knowledge, there's only so much the other two things can do for you, problem solving ability and understanding your technique. The knowledge is key. Yes, it's applied knowledge test, but if the knowledge is missing, then you're going to drop out on a lot of marks. And number three, and I think this is one of the most crucial bits of AKT, is your technique. We spend so much time sorting out people's technique on our live Big Mock AKT course. One of the most important things we do is we find the gaps in your technique and we try and fill them. Now, technique is one of those things that is so overlooked at again. Yes, people do lots and lots of questions, but they're not picking up gaps in technique. They might be picking up gaps in knowledge. They might be doing their reading. They might be doing lots of questions on a regular basis. But if you're not picking up those technique gaps, why are you reading things in a certain way that's getting you the question wrong? How come when you knew the knowledge, you know the guideline, why did you choose this answer versus this? When it gets down to, is it A or B, how can technique make the difference so that you're not doing a 50-50 guess? these are so important. So important to think about these kind of little things, how you approach little words in a question, how you approach soft words versus hard words, how you approach double words in a question. Firstly, are you even recognizing these things? And if so, what's your approach and strategy to them? Because if you don't have a strategy or an approach, or you're not aware of how important these things are, trust me, you're going to make the same mistakes again and again and again, because your brain works on pattern recognition. Now, if your patterns are not being picked up, then subconsciously you're going to be getting the same types of question wrong again and again and again, even though your knowledge is up there, even though your problem solving ability is up there. So for technique, come to our webinars. We do a lot of work on there. They're all free. We do so many of them for AKT. We taught you about technique there, but the biggest part of technique is our live big mock course, where we drill that down over a whole paper and highlight to you the bits that you're dropping, and potentially the 5, 10, 15% of marks that you're leaving on the table because you haven't focused on this important part for AKT. So guys, when you're doing your prep for AKT, please focus on these 3 areas. Number 1, problem solving. Number 2, strong knowledge base. Number 3, technique. Now, when we train for AKT, we teach on all 3 of these things, because I know, and I've seen people struggle with this exam, and they've just maybe overlooked one in completion, or they've known about it, but they haven't really focused on it, or they've not even known about it in the first place. And trust me, this is an exam that works on tiny percentages, right? 0.5% will lose you this exam. You can't afford to leave any of these 3 things out. Now, I want to talk about how we help for all these 3 things in a second, but please don't forget, if you're going to use any of our AKT resources, and I know so many of you guys do, and I thank you for it, make sure you use the coupon Arora Video 10, ARORAVIDEO10, to get you 10% off any AKT resource. Now, we have different things to target these different areas. So whether it's our live course, which is technique focused, whether it's our online courses or audio courses, which are based on boosting knowledge, whether it's our mock exams that are training you to problem solve on a regular basis, or whether it's our all-in-one Gold Pass package that covers everything. Number 1, use that discount. But number 2, make sure you use them to target these 3 areas, and not just do question after question after question, or not just do reading after reading after reading. Try and tie all 3 together. We've got so many more videos on AKT. I really hope I can join you. I can help you on the journey to get to your AKT pass. You know the hashtag CanPassWellPass, hashtag I went with Arora. Take care.